Galen,
Oni?
you son of a gun. I heard some lovely stuff on the Discord about you.
Yeah.
So
It's all fake. It's 100% fake.
Well, that's what we're going to find out. For our cold open, I need to just address the elephant in the room, and that is that you've been hiding a talent on us.
Oh, no.
No, don't play coy, you big old fat stick in the mud. Come on now, let's hear your freestyle rap. Do it about, I'll give you a topic.
Okay. Give me a topic.
It's about Super Mario.
Okay. Now give me a beat. Yahoo! Hey, it's Mario coming to save everybody who is... I can't do this. I can't do this on the spot.
Hello, my plaintiffs and defendants. Friends, thank you for joining us today on the Nintendo Everything Podcast, episode 105. I am the litigious demon dinosaur himself, Oni Dino, and with me, I don't know, whatever. Don't make that face at me. With me.
I mean, not the first time you've been called a dinosaur, but...
Yeah, incorrectly, literally every time. Okay, a third time's a charm. This embarrassing defendant that totally did it, he totally exposed himself in Mushroom Kingdom. It's Galen.
Yeah. I mean, I was just, at the wrong place at the wrong time. I'm 100% innocent. I would like to refer you to my legal counsel, Yoshi.
Well, Yoshi, that was a great defense, but you're gonna have to tell it to the family court, okay? Oh man, we are recording late, as in like a day late, and we are also recording late at night because we're busy boys, both of us.
Absolutely.
We're a weekly show though. Episodes go live every week. We're on all the podcast platforms, iTunes, Spotify, Pocket Casts, and Audible, and more. So much more. You just listen to us where you like, and as you like. Please share us with a friend, leave us an iTunes rating, all that good stuff helps us grow. Galen is very tiny, he needs to grow.
It's very, very true. I am very small on the inside.
This is going to be a bit of a weird one, a little bit of a sleepy one, and let's just get a bit of a tea one, except that I forgot to get the tea. I warmed up the kettle and I forgot to get the tea.
I happen to bring the tea. I have a nice Bengal spice with a little bit of chai in it.
That sounds terrible. Ugh, God. Let's just go right into our adventure log, talk about what we've been playing this week. You can catch me having a very public breakdown on my Twitter at Oni_Dino. Galen.
You can see my a little bit more private, but still like very public breakdown on Twitter at Mobius087.
That's where you can view his privates.
But just my OnlyFans.
Well, you can also at the Mushroom Kingdom, apparently.
Yeah.
Also, we
Why
got
do you
a
think
Discord.
Yoshi is my defense?
Oh my God! Stop it. We have a Discord that Galen decides to interrupt me about everything on. It's a lovely little place. Got some people coming in there, making friends, chatting up. It's a great time. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Go on over to our Discord. I got links like in the description of everything, but also you can find us by going to your browser and typing in tiny.cc/.
Yes, he did it!
Nintendo Everything Pod. And speaking of the Discord, we're also going to have a nice little candid chat through the Discord on November 28th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah.
So just convert it to whatever, you guys got out there.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting. We're just going to be hanging out, kind of just chatting back and forth. And
I really have no idea what we're actually going to be doing. Ollie put this together. They're wonderful. And I'm just going to show up and be told to perform. It's fine.
I mean, that it has been the expectation for all of these years now.
So, Galen, let's get into it. What have you been playing this week? Let me take a gander and say that it was Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Sharp Effie, Encore.
Yeah. No, I've been playing that just nonstop. Haven't been able to put it down. Barry Goodman is my soul partner now. He is my personal summon in life, as in all things. I did get a small chance to break away though and try out the new Destiny 2 expansion, which was kind of fun. So
wow, listen to all of those disappointed people just right now. Like it was like a total slide whistle. That's the word.
I knew that was going to happen, and so I'm very glad that you had me speak first. Listeners, go ahead and hit the timestamp below to skip everything I'm about to say. Because,
by the way, he hasn't been playing Tokyo Mirage. Galen will never play that game. I hate him.
No, so I've been playing the new Destiny expansion. It's fun. I'm enjoying it, and I'm really happy with how it has kind of reinvigorated the game for me. There's a lot more content that it is bringing forward. There's an entire new landscape to be able to explore. It was a little bit controversial with this expansion because they were actually vaulting, I guess is what they're calling it, some of the old locations, which...
deleting them.
Yeah, so the idea is that the game file size was getting so large because they were adding so many different things to the game. So you would go to install a new update, and this particular expansion, they are including some new subclasses and abilities that help you traverse in the world itself. So some of those old levels need to be completely reworked as not to be completely overbalanced with these new abilities.
Okay, that's the reason they're telling to the family courts.
Well, that is the reason, and I mean, it really kind of sucks. They are going to be bringing that content back as they have time to work on those levels. That's what they say. But I mean, I think the last update, it was like, maybe 78 to 100 gigs just to install the update and redo all of the things that were on there. So
that sounds about right. I did install that, yes.
Yeah.
I have to appreciate though their euphemism usage there. They're vaulting some of the content. It's just like when live services are sunset.
You know what? I think they use that term too.
Oh Christ!
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit cringe, but it's what you are expecting from a live service game such as Destiny. With the new stuff that they have brought to the game, the new abilities are really cool. So I'm not going to bore you with the story because it makes no sense anyway. But it's you are basically getting the chance to obtain the dark powers that have been oppressing the solar system up until this point. These powers are being manifested in what's called stasis. It's basically ice powers. So when you get ice, like I'm going to freeze you. Okay. And you can do actually just that. So your base abilities, your grenades, your melee attacks. I played as the Warlock class, so I'm able to throw down a grenade, and wherever it lands, a huge wall of ice just forms right in front of me. Fantastic for being able to take out lines of enemies, but also take cover if you're right in the middle of somewhere.
Sounds exactly like May's ability in Overwatch.
A little bit, yeah. I actually haven't played Overwatch all that much, so... Either
have I. Yeah. I just played her once, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I don't know how to play this game.
Yeah. But they also have other ice abilities for the other two classes that are out there as well. What kind of surprised me, though, was the narrative was a little weird because, again, taking on the powers to fight the very thing that is giving you these new powers. It's a strange, like, give and take. And it's supposed to be playing up this whole duality complex of you, even though these are dark powers, you're using them for good and for survival, so they can't be all bad. There's a thin gray line that you have to kind of walk across. It's a little overblown, if you ask me.
Boy,
but...
I'll tell you what the real thin gray line is. It's the crease in my ass from listening to this story.
I was about to say it's the ones that are forming in my hair since I started this podcast. But no, what was actually surprising me is your interactions with your ghost companion. So in the world of Destiny, you are basically a dead person. And these little robots called ghosts, which are about the size of like a magic 8-ball, they go and find bodies and bring those bodies back to life. You have no memories of who you were as a previous person, but they are the ones who not only raise you up from the dead, but they also give you your powers. They are your constant companion, and that is how it's been through the entire game.
Interesting. So, like, the humans that get risen by the ghosts are just like, what, shells of their former selves?
They still have personality traits. They still are. They're basically born anew, in a way. They have no memory of who they were in their previous life, but they
so
still...
a shell would be kind of a
yeah
term you could use, right?
Yeah.
So there's ghosts and shells.
And the ghost can disappear and go into the shell. So.
And we can just kill a joke.
But then it would come back to life because, you know, it's
Jesus. All right, go on.
The joke then becomes a shell of its former self. So
maybe the joke was the podcast the whole along.
Or the friends we make along the way.
That's it.
Anyway, so you have this ghost companion who's been with you, especially someone like me who's been playing since the very first game when it first came out. This is the first time that the ghost has been kind of not okay with what you've been doing. He constantly is checking in and he's talking about, hey, you're using these dark powers. It feels wrong. It feels, oh God, what's the word? Heretical to what he represents. But there's also this companionship and this bond that goes along with it. And he'll stand there and be like, listen, I'm going to be there for you. We're doing this for good reasons, but I'm afraid because I can feel it affecting you. And if you die, I might not be able to, you know, rise you again.
So your robots have emotions?
Oh, yeah. No, they've got their own dedicated personality. This is part of the reason why that whole Dinklebot thing was a big meme.
I'm sorry. Back it up a little bit, please.
Okay, back when Destiny 1 first came out...
Oh, no! Never mind, not that far!
No. Back when it first came out, the voice of your ghost was Peter Dinklage. He's the guy who plays Tyrion in Game of Thrones. Yeah. He was completely dry with every single one of his, you know, delivery moments. So they replaced his voice with Nolan North.
Phoned it in.
Yeah.
That wasn't, by the way, an audio slowdown. Just the processor inside of my body just had to reboot.
Oni.exe has experienced an unexpected error.
No, it was expected.
It was expected. No, I thought it was really interesting and really fascinating because I remember I was driving to one particular mission and all of a sudden he just pops up and says, hey, how you doing? How you feeling? Like, this is really weird. I've never had that kind of connection with this companion before, expressed in the game, except for when Destiny 2 first started and the plot kind of started from there. And I really like seeing that. I want to see more of that as Bungie makes their future expansions going forward. So kudos to you guys on that one.
Bungie, who listens to this podcast
Bungie, who listens to the Nintendo Everything podcast.
Because we're clearly sponsored by Destiny. Otherwise, why would you be talking about it all the time?
It's true. It's true. Beyond that, I'm just having fun. Like, I wish I had my old connections that I used to play with back in the day who were still playing the game right now, because there's a couple of the team events that I have to kind of go about solo with it.
You should make some friends online. I wonder... I mean, I can't imagine they would, but does anybody who listens to this podcast play Destiny?
Hey, Ollie has said, a couple of times, might join. I don't know if they'll actually ever do it. But...
I don't think that you should put that kind of pressure on them.
Oh, man. No, I'm having a lot of fun, and it's reinvigorating to be able to have this fresh content come in. So...
Good, Galen. You deserve a little bit of happiness.
Thank you. Oni, what have you been playing lately?
So I wanted to have No More Heroes done and No More Heroes 2 started by now, but just busy week.
Life kind of gets in the way, right?
It's the worst. The only time I've been playing video games at all in the past month or so has been right before I go to bed. So I've been playing No More Heroes, primarily in handheld mode and whatnot. And the flow of the game, like I kind of mentioned last week, is that you have to put a down payment in before you can proceed with the next assassin you have to kill.
Yeah, it's the gating that the game actually uses. So
yeah, and there's a whole topic there on commenting on the mundanity of life or something like that, or just living in a shitty town or whatever. That's another conversation for another time. But anyway, I think I'm on number 1. I'm going to kill the number 1 assassin.
Okay.
But in between, after you kill number 2 and then you go to number 1, you get kind of the best beam katana that you can get. And in order to obtain it, you have to buy it. So it's very expensive as well. So I had the money, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get this, because I didn't really care for the one I had before. So when I got that, I went down to basically $0, and
now you have to work your way all the way back up.
Yeah, and that process definitely gets tedious. There's definitely a bit of tedium in there, even though you do some missions in between your assassins to build up your money to put your down payment on. Usually I never felt the tedium of it. Only when I went down to $0 did I suddenly feel that. So anyway, I played a little bit of it every other night. I do one mission or something just to sort of break up the tedium, which is really unfortunate. But I did have the money for the down payment. I just haven't gone into it yet. So hopefully I'll be able to talk about it next week. But what?
Just really quick, do you feel like that that stopgap in there is kind of detracting from your experience of the game, or is it one of those things that you understand what it's trying to do, and it's just more of an inconvenience more than it is just an active detractor from the fun of the game?
I wasn't detracted by that game flow until this very last time. Okay. So, it could have been shored up in a remaster, a proper remaster, as opposed to just kind of, the more or less port that this is. Mm-hmm. And, also a little bit more variety to the side missions and whatnot, making it a little bit easier to get to them. It hasn't been a problem until now. So yeah. I'm already this far and I gotta beat it. You know what I mean?
No, I hear what you mean. It's funny that you're talking about that, though, because it reminds me of another game, Fable 3. Have you ever played it?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, the entire thing about Fable 3 is you are basically trying to overthrow your brother who has overthrown your place in the kingdom. So you're trying to raise up this revolution and try to, knock him out. Well, you finally get to the point where you kick him out of the kingdom, and then you realize that all of his harsh rulings have been to try to raise enough money to build an army to defend against this evil army that is coming in to invade the kingdom that nobody has known about. So now that you are the ruler, it is your responsibility to kind of pick up that mantle and continue raising funds. And because it's a Fable game, it's supposed to offer you a lot of moral choices. Do you build a brothel or a library? Do you, make a weapons factory but knock down an orphanage in order to do it? Like those kind of things that it's supposed to be these overblown moral choices of, do the goods or do the bads underweigh the goods? That sentence could have been said better, but I think you know what I'm trying to say.
Good try, Galen. D for effort.
But from a gameplay mechanic, it's the same kind of thing as what you're talking about in No More Heroes. It's a stopgap thing of you have to do certain things in order to progress. You have to have a certain monetary goal. The difference, however, is in Fable 3, when I played it personally, they needed like 1 million gold, and they set it up as this like obscene number that was really hard to get to. I had been playing the real estate market in that game, so I had like 2.5 million by the time that I actually took ownership of that. So when they were like, we need 1 million gold to raise an army, and I was like, do you want to check? Like,
right, yeah.
You're going to throw all these other
Cash
options that have no merit to me whatsoever. So
that's always like a bummer in video games in general, when they like sort of have this thing and they're like, yo, you have to take down this guy. It's like, cool, I did that like in a side quest 2 times ago. Go ahead, respawn him. That's fine. I'll kill him again. You know what I mean? That always sucks.
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought about that when you were talking about your experience on like spending all the money on the legendary weapon and now having to rebuild back up. So it's interesting to see certain games, how they have different extremes and different levels on what they envision is the hard choices to make in that.
Yeah, like, if No More Heroes were a different kind of game with like a social commentary on living in a shitty place, having a shitty life, that kind of thing, this kind of game flow would be perfect for it, because it's part of the mundanity of the game flow, and doing shitty side jobs like hunting for mines on the beach, mowing grass, finding cats, that kind of crappy stuff could be a commentary that the game is, pulling along in its narrative, but it's not. Like, that's not what this game really is. So yeah, I mean, it's a blemish, but it definitely doesn't ruin the experience. So I would say if anybody, kind of gets to that point like I did between Assassin number 2 and 1, to just kind of, piecemeal it out night by night, just do like a mission or 2, build up a little money, that kind of thing. I forgot which mission it is. It's like maybe 17 or 16 or something. There is a assassination mission where you just go like right down the street from where you pick up the assassination mission, and then you fight in a little alleyway that's like very much a Japanese alleyway in this like California town. And then you fight a bunch of enemies there, but you can do that really quick and gain a lot of money, as opposed to some of the other missions that, you have to drive kind of far out. So just FYI, little Onidino pro tip.
Was the beam saber worth it?
Yes, it's excellent. The final beam saber is a like total katana thing. It's great.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, very briefly, I'll leave you with a taste, lovely listeners. To sort of break up that monotony, I needed something to like play at night that wasn't like super crazy intense, that was easy to do, that I wouldn't have to read a whole bunch of story or something like that from dragging my eyes across text the entire day. I couldn't start like a brand new JRPG,
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, just The Missing called out to me. The Missing, J.J. Macfield and the Island of Memories. This is the 2D indie platformer by Swery. I think I've talked about it before. Galen's looking at me totally blank.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to think about it, but yeah, I have heard you talk about this.
I'm sure you've listened, yes. It's not a long game at all. It's not a long game. I beat it in just a couple of, like maybe 3 nights.
Oh, really?
And yeah, it's great. I had a good time with it. I said that word weird.
A good time.
I don't know.
I'm glad you had a good time with it.
I suddenly went like Finnish with my accent. Shout outs to all of our listeners in Finland. And I just beat it late last night, and I had a very interesting experience. I want to say more, and I want to sort of get my thoughts out and kind of write down some notes. So I will talk about that next week. I guess the very little that I'll say right now is if you know nothing about this game and you're thinking about getting it, or whatever I say next week sounds like it's up your alley, the less you know about it, the better, because there are so many moments where if you don't know about it, it is such an impactful game, both mechanics, gameplay wise, and story wise.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear about it.
Are you?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. That's
I feel like you have a very insightful approach to how you talk about video games. So
thank you.
It is legitimately nice to hear you talk about things, especially indie titles that not a lot of people have had experience about. So, yeah, no, I am excited.
Thank you, Galen. That's a very nice thing for you to say. And now I need to say something nice to you.
Yeah, I'll save it.
Let's move into our news, our very litigious news this week.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, before the litigious news,
Mm-hmm.
the news can't be litigious. The people who have created... let's talk about...
Wait, hang on. We are about, 20-30 minutes into this episode. We have not talked about Animal Crossing at all yet. This will not stand. Oni.
All right.
So
go.
We got a new Animal Crossing trailer that has talked all about the winter season coming up. So
and for all of our lovely listeners in the Southern Hemisphere, it's not that. It's something different.
Yeah, I guess it's summer. So
we already went through winter.
They have started off by talking about 2 events that are going to be coming up worldwide. So even if it is summer for you, you will still be able to participate.
Oh, by the way, I do want to shout out to our listeners in the Southern Hemisphere, like Southern America, yeah, like Africa, South Africa, and Australia, Southeast Asia. I mean, you're in the Southern Hemisphere, but I don't think that it affects you in terms of the weather because you're too close to the equator. How, if you are playing Animal Crossing, how is the winter events affecting you in your summertime? So you're having a summer Christmas, just you're used to doing probably in Australia and whatnot. They build snowmen on the beach and stuff. It's cool. Have you seen photos like that?
I haven't seen photos of that. I have seen the photos of Santa Claus. What was it? Not snowboarding. What's the word I'm looking for? Surfing in on the.
What do you mean?
I have seen photos of that.
Lovely listeners in the Southern Hemisphere. Let us know how your Animal Crossing game is getting on like that.
You said litigious, but you couldn't say hemisphere?
Listen, they're very tough words. Go on.
Well, yep, we do have 2 events that are going to be coming up rather shortly. We do have Turkey Day, which is going to be on November 26th. This is the North American holiday and Canadian holiday of Thanksgiving.
What? Canada has a different Thanksgiving than America.
Yeah, it's in October, actually.
Yeah, it already happened.
But I'm just saying, Thanksgiving isn't just an American holiday. They also celebrate it in other places, too. Just not on the same day.
But we wouldn't say that Independence Day is a worldwide holiday because everybody that celebrates an Independence Day celebrates it at different times.
And I'm not disagreeing with you.
Listen, Galen, just admit that you're entirely wrong.
Listen, I will admit whatever I need to so we can move this podcast along. You are dragging this out way too much.
Me? All right, tell us about Turkey Day.
Yes, so Turkey Day is going to be coming up. You are going to be able to give food to the Turkey Franklin, and he is a master gourmet chef. He is going to cook things for your villagers. It sounds like it's a lot of fun. Also, they were showcasing being able to give pumpkins to him, and he's turning it into some sort of pumpkin stew. I thought that was kind of cool, but they made no other mention of any sort of farming activity, which is something that I am still kind of expecting to come into the game. because I haven't talked about that, I was like, okay, am I just going to be giving him pumpkins and nothing else? But then I realized there's a lot of other fruits and foods in the game you could also be giving him too. So there's going to be kind of a wide variety, and I'm going to be curious if there are multiple recipes that you can get out of him.
Out of the turkey.
I'll
tell you several different recipes you can make from a turkey.
Yep.
By the way, why is his name Franklin? Like, you would think there would be like there would be a joke or a pun or something there.
Oh, probably. The localization team is on point when it comes to giving these characters different names that are fitting to who they are, what kind of like species they are, and things like that. So
yeah, I've seen, especially like with the fishing, there's so many good language specific puns.
So many good puns.
Benjamin Franklin wanted the national bird to be a turkey.
Oh.
So maybe that's why his name is Franklin.
That could be.
At
I'd
least
buy
in
into
America.
that. Yeah. On top of that, we also have Toy Day, which is coming up on December 24th. So good old Christmas Eve. This is going to be Jingle, the black-nosed reindeer, is going to be showing up, and you are going to be helping him. How they described it, not my choice. You're going to be helping him deliver presents to your villagers. So it's cute, it's fun. It's going to be a lot of, cool activities that are coming up. They showcase a lot of new Christmas themed and snow themed items that you're going to be able to craft and build as time goes on. Right after that, they went ahead and talked about the new hairstyles and emotes that you can actually do, or reactions in the game. And they made it really easy too. They straight up said, hey, here are those, those Nook miles that you've only been using for this one thing to travel to different islands? Well, we're going to let you spend some of those to buy these new things. And I really like some of the hairstyles. You have some, I think they have like an afro on there. They have, oddly enough, you can go completely bald, which wasn't an option before. I don't know why that was.
Oh yeah, that is odd.
Yeah. You get like cotton candy-esque, like frizzy kind of poofy hair. It's a lot of fun. It adds some very neat variety to it.
Do they have a whole bunch of long hair styles that they're adding, considering quarantine hair?
Not really.
Okay.
Actually, there is this one. It's a visual punk wig that your character can wear, and it makes it look like not a very long hair, but just like a medium length on there. But it's very styled and kind of grungy-esque messy, and that's been my current go-to because that's the longest hair choice that I can find there.
That's really boring. Go on.
Yeah, a little bit. The reactions are also kind of fun. They are a lot more dynamic compared to what they were. You can now like sit down and just, hang out with your other villagers that are around there. You can do yoga poses, which is really
Finally.
fun. Yeah. But that's really fun because they have a ring fit item in the game that they gave for like doing one of the updates, so you can do yoga with the ring fit in the background. There's one where you can take out your phone and just take pictures of something, which can lead to some very fun moments.
Finally.
Yeah. So lots of cool stuff. The biggest thing about this update, however, is finally, thank God, we are getting more storage. I have been capped up on the storage in my home for months now. They are increasing it from 1,600 storage spaces up to 2,400 storage spaces.
What do you got in your storage? What's all in there?
Honestly, it's a combination of fossils, clothes, furniture, wallpaper, and rugs.
Why do you have all that? What's the point?
Well, the point is that you keep getting these various things as gift from your villagers as you're talking to them and trying to build up a relationship with them. Plus, you may get something and then want to decorate either your house or somebody else's house with that. But on top of that, all the clothes that you buy in the game, every time you buy an item of clothes, if you buy the same thing but in a different color, that takes up another item slot. On top of that, you need someplace to store all of your crafting things. So your wood, your rocks, your iron, like it actually
But why do you
fills
have
up
to keep
really
all of the things
fast.
that you craft and stuff like that? Wouldn't you want to be more minimalist?
I mean, yeah, you can be if you want to. But part of the fun of the game is just having all that stuff on hand so that if you get like a new villager who's really into pink and you have this like perfect pink like bunk bed that you're not using, well, wrap it up, give it to them, and score some extra points with that person.
And now you have 2,400 slots.
And now I have 2,400 slots, and I am grateful for every single one of them. Beyond that, they talked about a couple of other things. There is finally a save data transfer app that you can install that will basically help you move your island to a new Switch.
Finally.
Finally. And finally, they said that their next update is going to be coming around late in January. Now, usually they've been showcasing the character that's going to be specific with that update. This particular one is a peacock with kind of like a tiara-esque like crown type thing on. And I looked it up because I've never played this game before, so I have no idea who this is referencing. This is a character called either Pave or Pave, but they specifically celebrate Carnival. So there's going to be a Carnival event coming sometime next year.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then surely that will Valentine's Day will shortly follow that.
Yes, most likely. So
Animal Crossing continues to be so cute. I hope they keep it going for a couple more years, you know?
yeah, I can't remember where this article was, but it was an interview with one of the financing people, and they were asking about Animal Crossing, specifically on how their sales have been going, what are their plans with it, and do they expect them to start dropping out soon. And they said that they actually have several more months of content planned in free releases to keep the kind of the momentum going on this game. So
yeah, they'd be smart to put in like an extra update or so beyond
absolutely.
that, just because of how insanely this game has sold. It's nuts.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, they are planning on keeping with this game for the long haul.
And speaking of the long haul, there is a bunch of lawsuits this week.
Yeah, there's a lot of legal Nintendo news going on.
Nintendo, some may say. Not me.
I really want to make a Phoenix Wright joke right here, but I can't because it's not just Nintendo anymore.
Well,
like,
Galen, you're going to have to hold it, okay? Because I have to introduce the news.
I'll take that.
You suck the life out of me. You're like a vampire, an energy vampire.
Hey. Objection.
So there's two that we're going to introduce right away. So Nintendo files a lawsuit against a Amazon Switch hack reseller.
Mm-hmm.
There was a reseller selling a RCM loader as a means to jailbreak the system. Nintendo previously sent them a DMCA notice to deal with the situation. After that, the seller actually issued a counterclaim onto Nintendo, and so Amazon was required to relist the RCM loader as a result, unless Nintendo filed an infringement lawsuit. So Nintendo had to file a lawsuit and now wants to stop the seller and receive $2,500 in damages for each infringement. So probably each sale at least.
Oh, each infringement. Okay, because I didn't read that part originally because I was reading this and I was
Big
about to
surprise.
say $2,500 just as a whole seems like kind of a slap on the wrist, all things considered. But for each and every unit that they were selling, no, that makes a lot more sense now.
So we have the full document up on our website. You can check it out there, nintendoeverything.com. Nintendo also mentioned that piracy is just a worsening international problem.
Yeah.
And that goes sort of right into, well, actually it doesn't go into. Well, that's enough. That's enough of that. Ain't nothing else to say there.
In other legal news.
In other legal news, in the reverse legal news, Nintendo has been hit with another class action lawsuit over Switch Joy-Con drift. So this is not the first. This is not the second. There's several of them so far. This one was in Seattle? I want to say this one was Seattle.
Yeah. This one was Seattle.
Polygon originally noticed this, and it contains a technical breakdown, which is what's unique for this particular lawsuit. Contains a technical breakdown by an expert who indicates that the problems of Joy-Con drift are caused by interior wear on the pads of the controller, which mean that it is just a flaw in the design.
Yeah.
But, not allegedly or...
Well, and
whatever.
on our website, we actually have the whole, what's the term? Dissertation?
Document.
The whole document of the legal submission on there. But in that document, they also have a bunch of photographs of teardowns and expert opinions, kind of like showcasing under a microscope where this damage is occurring and how these flaws are actually coming around. So I thought it was really interesting, like getting an up close view on this is the reason why Mario keeps turning to the left.
And Link keeps running off of a cliff.
Yeah, basically.
So, there is a problem with Joy-Con drift. Nintendo even has, at least in the United States, and I would bet, many other places, they have a website set up specifically for Joy-Con repair. And you can put in a ticket. I did this to get my Joy-Con repaired for the second time. You can put in a ticket. You never even have to talk to anybody. And it is specifically for Joy-Con repair. That wouldn't exist if this weren't an issue. You know what I mean?
No, that's true.
So
I was about to say,
hope...
you've had to turn in a couple of them, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same pair. They
okay.
haven't died or anything, but I have had to get them repaired twice now. And I highly encourage anybody that has drift to contact Nintendo and go through this process for, two reasons. One, at least in the United States, and there are some other countries that they are offering this in, it's free. They do the repair for free. The shipping to them is free, and shipping back to you is free. It doesn't cost you anything other than time, so it's the least inconvenient and it's the cheapest thing for you to do.
Yeah.
So for your own pocketbook. But the second thing is, from a business perspective, you want every single time that Nintendo has or I should say any company has a product that is faulty and doesn't perform to the standards that they promised to you, you want them to take the hit on that financially, because in aftermarket sales and service and repair sales in companies, they have of course they have annual reports, they have quarterly reports, but in annual reports especially, they have a huge tally over something called the cost of poor production. I think it was called something like that. I'm just trying to think back to days when I worked in manufacturing companies, and it's reactionary, but they will do something about that based on the numbers. If they realize that the cost of poor quality, that's what it is. If they realize that those numbers are outrageously high and they're just bleeding in aftermarket revenue, they will react to that by doing something different. So you want Nintendo to, and any other company, to take that hit. So anybody who's got Joy-Con drift, highly recommend you contact Nintendo and send them in.
I mean, there's a reason that the expression vote with your dollars kind of is a thing. And this is kind of one of those things. Like, you want, this is a good way for you to be like, hey, this matters to me. And
it's what you as an individual can do. Because, I mean, of course, you can complain about it on the internet. But that is a cesspool. What you really can do that will probably make the most impact, and if we all do it, is to send them in if they're broken. And, get them back.
I've actually got 2 Joy-Cons myself that I need to go ahead and send in.
Oh, really?
So,
Excuse me. Last time we talked about this, you hadn't had any Joy-Con drifting, but now they are?
So when I got the system, I got the red and the blue Switch originally, so I went ahead and I bought a opposite one of the controllers. So I have a full set of the red plus a full set of the blue. My red one has been drifting for a little while.
Yeah.
My blue one is starting to show signs of that.
Yeah, so just send them in. Go to that website. Like, it's awesome. I mean, not awesome, but it's painless, I should say.
It's convenient.
Never have to talk to anybody. That's the worst thing.
That's the best part.
So anyway, that's that on that. We'll keep you updated on any of it because it does affect us, or nearly all of us. What's next? Okay. There's a talk about...
Let's talk about the big house.
Yeah, the big house. Something I didn't know about just because I haven't been following the FGC fighting game community very much. But there is a tournament called the Big House, I think. And
yes, it's a tournament that specifically deals with the Super Smash Bros. Melee as well as Ultimate, I believe, were the two big tournaments that they were focusing on this year.
Okay.
Everybody's trying to fight COVID. Everybody's trying to figure out how they are going to adapt with things like social distancing in mind. So the producers over at the Big House decided that they were going to try to make everything online. In doing so, they were using a specific version of Super Smash Bros. Melee that was a hacked version, which would allow online playback to happen. It was specifically a rollback netcode called Slippy that they were using.
And as a reminder to people, Melee was on the GameCube. There was no online for it, so Melee Melee Online doesn't exist. So they were using this to do an online thing because of social distancing.
Exactly. Now Nintendo got word of that, sent a cease and desist over to them, and unfortunately they had to pull back and they are canceling the entire tournament at this point, which is a little sad simply because they were so close to being able to put this thing on. So I think it was supposed to be like December 5th and 6th. Don't quote me on those dates, but it's sometime early December that the event was supposed to be happening. So this is very short notice, especially for people who were really kind of gearing up and getting excited for it.
Yeah, in Nintendo's statement, they released a statement about it. What did they say? They said something like they sent them a cease and desist, or no, they sent them like basically an email or a form of communication saying, please don't do this. And I think they refused, the Big House. They refused, or they said, no, we want to do this. So then Nintendo had no choice but to issue a cease and desist. So,
exactly. Yeah. And they specifically said in their official press release that they were doing this because of the issues that it is involved in piracy involving Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Yeah, it's because the game has to be hacked in order to provide online, and Nintendo, from a business perspective, has to do this to protect their IP in not allowing a slippery slope kind of situation happen.
Exactly.
So it's really a shame. This whole thing is just unfortunate, and I can see it from both perspectives, but I really wish, just personally, I'm taking out the equation of whether this is good for business or not, but I wish Nintendo would have been you know what, we're making a one-time what's the word I'm looking for?
An exception.
Exception, thank you. One-time exception to this rule. We will not stand for piracy. However, for the sake of blah, 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 because of COVID, because we want people to play and blah, blah, blah.
And I kind of feel that same thing too. Nintendo has historically been a very zero tolerance policy against piracy, which I
understandably,
understand.
they have some of the strongest IP and most recognizable IP in the world. So, it's part about protecting that. It's just shitty in general, just a shitty situation. And I just really wish that they would have a version of Melee, just port the damn game straight over with online in it. That's all people would want. You know what I mean?
Or even more than that. Actually, actually getting more involved with the people who are out there and show that, yes, you want to support the community, but if you want to do this, you want to do it in the right way. If you are going to be using a modified version of Melee, well, why doesn't Nintendo provide the modified version? I mean, the modified version's obviously out there. So
But it's not modified by Nintendo. What do you mean?
Well, no, but it can be done is the thing. So
Nintendo does not want to involve themselves in anything else that somebody has done with their games or with their code or anything like that. They will not do that. It has to be something that they make themselves.
Yeah. And I'm just saying, like, they could make a version of this themselves. I'm sure that with their
that's
team,
what I'm hoping they would do in the future, and then
exactly. So I don't know if they're necessarily ready to do a full-on port of Melee, but coming up with, like, let's say the 2020 edition or the tournament edition, something that is specifically narrowed down for these guidelines and these expectations to be used in events like this, so there can be a collaboration that's going on here.
But I'm saying though that, like, if they have something like this that they create, it should just be on their current hardware, which would be the Switch, and just that way, that's your way to play it. Because when people put together these tournaments, when organizations put together these tournaments, they use whatever is commercially available,
Yeah.
So everybody's using a Switch to play, Pokken Tournament or to play Smash Ultimate.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there is also the counter argument, which I feel holds a lot less water, of the purists who want to play the tournaments on the original consoles, and this is what I train for, as opposed to some sort of a port. And it's like, I don't buy that argument as much.
Cool, but guess what? There's a freaking pandemic murdering us and infecting millions and millions of us. And this was an American tournament, wasn't it?
Yes.
COVID is the worst in America, so like,
no, it's true.
GameCube's not gonna happen. You know what? It's not gonna happen. CRT GameCube not happening. So anyway, just release it as like pure as possible as you can on like the newest hardware, which would be the Switch, with online, and a lot of people would be happy. You don't want to touch anything in that game because people will be unhappy with that. Like, that's the thing about like fighting games that are on like Steam or whatnot, is that, when a new version or a new type of fighting game in the series comes out, it doesn't immediately obsolete, previous entries. A series. There's still so many people that go back and play, older versions of Guilty Gear, or people are still playing
Street Fighter 2 for the SNES.
Yeah, Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter Third Strike is really big, and people are today playing it, you know what I mean, with tournaments and shit. So it's just because the mechanics are so unique to them, and especially if they're so good, they're going to stick around. And Melee is one that has unintentionally been such a big hit, and it has unintentionally stuck around, you know what I mean? Like, when I say that is because people are playing and using Melee in like the unintended way, which is cool. Like, that's totally fine. It's fascinating to me because they're not using like the systems that are like that they built in there. They've just learned how to jimmy the system in really weird ways. It's super cool, I think. But
I'm just laughing because now I'm thinking about the last time I was in Japan, and I was with my wife and some friends over in Harajuku, and we were going down the oh god, what is it? Oh, where was it? Anyway, it was this random arcade shop that was right outside, and there was a guy who was sitting outside of this video game store with a SNES set up in the store window, and was just challenging random people to Street Fighter as they were walking by. And I got my ass kicked hard.
Of course. You don't even know how to play that game against anybody.
Of course not. I've never touched a controller before. What is a snaz?
Anyway, so that's just a big old unfortunate situation, but it is what it is, I guess. I don't know. Hopefully Nintendo comes out with an online Melee.
Yeah.
Just because that would really, make people happy.
I do want to correct myself. It was Akihabara, not Harajuku.
Yeah, I had a feeling it wasn't Harajuku, but I was like, I'm not going down that friggin' path with you. All right, and then lastly, everyone's favorite private industry awards show
Mm-hmm.
/ marketing nonsense awards.
It's the Video Game Oscars, brought to you by Subway. That joke will never get old.
It was old before you even said it last year, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, what's the big
Go on.
thing? What?
Go on.
Oh, if I'm going on, I'm going straight to additional DLC. I don't want to talk about this. You want to talk about it?
I just think it's cool. There's a couple of Nintendo games that are in the mix. I specifically want to call out Animal Crossing. Got a nomination for Game of the Year this year, and I think it 100% deserves it. So
Yes, that's cool.
Yep.
You typically wouldn't see a game like that in this awards show being nominated. Like, remember how big Three Houses was last year, and it got one nomination, and then there was
one side nomination too.
Well, no, there was 2 nominations for Three Houses. One was for, I don't even know, I think it was like score or something like that, or maybe it was like best strategy game. Huh?
Yeah, it does have good music.
But then the other nomination it got, and it won this one, was the Player's Choice Award or something like that. I don't know. Just because they don't typically go for the anime games.
Yeah.
The Japanese games. They go for the big AAA bombastic ones.
Yeah. No, to be completely fair, the Game Awards have always been this very AAA exclusive red carpet-esque wannabe event.
What are you talking about? Death Stranding is the most indie thing I've ever seen.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Wait, that won last year, didn't it?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
It didn't.
Shows you how much I paid attention to it.
Sekiro win? I don't remember what won.
I can see that.
It's lit. I can't imagine anything less important in the world. Go on.
One thing that I did want to call out since we're on this topic, though, is that Hades has been nominated for 8 freaking categories.
Yeah, that's really awesome to see them.
It is insane.
They're up there, and they're an indie studio, you know?
Yeah.
It's awesome to see them up there and get a bunch of recognition. That's so good for indies.
And not even Switch Game of the Year, or something one of the smaller categories. We're talking about Game of the Year, Game Direction Narrative, Art Direction, Score and Music, Best Performance, specifically Logan Cunningham. Have not heard him in that game, so can't really speak to that. Also Best Indie and Best Action. So these are some pretty hotly contested categories that is actually going up in.
Yeah, it's great.
So I'm going to be very excited to see how many it can actually take home.
Congrats, Supergiant.
Yeah.
And that's it. Additional DLC. This week I'm recommending y'all to watch a video called The Environmental Impact of Physical Games by YouTube creator called HeavyEyed. Their channel is not that big. I forgot how many subscribers they have. It's not big. And they put out really good videos. I watched this video way earlier in the week, so I'm kind of hazy on it now, but I remember it I was halfway through the video and I was like, ooh, I can't wait to share this with people on the podcast because this is great. Had me thinking about video games and consumption, recycling plastic and stuff like that in ways that I hadn't considered before. One point was about the PlayStation boxes, how they have a blue tint to their plastic. That even though the type of plastic that they use is actually good for recycling, that blue tint that they put in there ends up making the whole thing basically complete trash. It will not be recycled.
Really?
Yeah. Plastic in general is a really unrecyclable material. It breaks down and doesn't get built back up very well, so it only happens a little bit, and at the same time the price of creating brand new plastic from scratch is incredibly cheap, so businesses very often will not choose recycled plastic. And even though you yourself as a person might put that type of plastic, the correct one, in the bin to be recycled, and it gets taken to the recycling facility, that doesn't necessarily mean it's getting recycled, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
It's just something I think we all need to think about. And this also, I probably should have started this off, but like the video is not about how you should buy digital games and not physical games, because they also very briefly bring up like that also has its problems too. But just for the sake of argument, for right now, we're just focusing on physical games. So it's cool. It's stuff that we really should be thinking about as like people like us, people who listen to the podcast. They're more than your average consumer in terms of consuming the product that is video games. So it's important for us as enthusiasts to really be aware and, you know, make smart decisions. And like, I don't know, like if we can bring this kind of stuff to other people's attention, and, you know, make progress.
Yeah.
You know, so this is a good way to start off.
Absolutely.
Galen, do you have additional DLC to recommend?
Not really.
Great.
I did want to ask you one question. You know how there's a Monster Hunter movie?
Yeah.
Did you see the trailer that they came out with about a month ago?
If I did, I forgot it entirely.
It's terrible. It is absolutely atrocious.
There is another trailer that just came out earlier this week too.
And that's what I'm actually going to use my additional DLC spot for.
Okay, well that's mean.
It's such a stark contrast between the two. Like, I don't know if this is just targeted audience or if this is like a regional type thing. Because the first time that I saw it, I believe it was because it was the Chinese version of the trailer. But for those of you who haven't seen it, the American version that came out a month ago shows, you know, Mila Jovovich with a bunch of... Huh?
Jovovich.
Yeah. Sorry. The chick from Resident Evil.
Hey.
And Fifth Element. What?
Yeah, there you go.
With a bunch of other army people.
U.S. Army
in a
stuff,
Humvee.
Right?
Yeah, U.S. Army in a Humvee in the middle of the desert who gets swept up in a sandstorm and start fighting the Monster Hunter iconic monsters with their army supplies. Like, I think one of them pulls out a rocket launcher at some point and starts shooting them. And I was like, what are you doing? It was like the majority of the trailer, and it just seemed so absolutely tone deaf.
It doesn't matter though. This is not a Monster Hunter for Monster Hunter fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
This is just the new property that they can do that will hopefully be really big in China.
Yeah.
And the world over, but I mean, specifically, I think Resident Evil, they can't show that in China, I think.
Oh, really?
I might be wrong. There's definitely like a thing by the Chinese government that you can't show ghosts or something like that because of witchcraft or something. So
weird.
When it gets into like undead stuff, it gets like really weird and muddy waters. And plus, I mean, the Western, like Hollywood, is still figuring out like what China likes, the mainland Chinese movie going audience, because like things like Transformers are huge in mainland China. Transformers makes like billions and billions there, and then things like Star Wars are flops there. So like
that's so weird.
Hollywood is still trying to figure out. They don't understand it yet. You know what I mean? So I think they're just trying to do stuff like that because the movie going audience in mainland China is more and more important to their bottom line.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's absolutely hilarious because the Chinese version actually looks like it's more faithful to what the games were trying to go for, at least. Like, showcase it a lot more of the strange weaponry and the costume designs, and like it was a much better trailer. But it's just watch them back to back. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
It is a stark contrast between the two.
Sorry to be so cynical, but when it comes to like
fine.
big gigantic corporations and like money and stuff like that, I just can't help but be like, no, you're not gonna fool me with this layer of paint.
I'm not saying that the movie is going to be good in any sense.
Oh, no. I'm not saying you're saying that. You're a smart cookie, Galen. There's my compliment.
Oh, thank you. So cash that in right here.
Yeah. Back to cruelty. In our listener mail segment.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
Hey! We got the listener mail. You can
Yes, we do.
send us the emails at nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
Please send your wonderful listener mail questions to nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
Not just questions, you can also send in topics for discussion, life advice, questions, or whatever. I don't know. Let's see what our best friend ever, Jay, says. Jay.
Hey, Jay, how's it going? Jay writes in, "Hey guys, it's Jay. I just wanted to comment on the less edited version of the show, and I have to say that I love it. I'm all about the weird and great candid conversation, and you guys are nailing it. However, to quote Oni, I don't know shit about shit, so take my opinion with a grain of salt."
Will do.
With recent games like Baldur's Gate and Hades, my question for you guys is about early access games. I'm on the same boat as Oni in that I have no desire to play an early access game. However, I recently played Hades, originally an early access game, and finished the game, and the finished game is incredible. The game was fine-tuned to perfection during its early access, and I think it's a much better game for it. The YouTube channel NoClip did an excellent documentary series on the development of Hades. It's really interesting to watch, and it's completely changed my opinion on early access games to a more positive one. Do you guys think early access games will become more common? And do you think that the gaming industry will be better or worse for it? Also, additional DLC, I'd love for you guys to play and talk about Hades. The game has defined and exceeded my expectations. While I've liked Supergiant games before, I've never been obsessed with them quite like I am with Hades. The artwork, music, characters, story, gameplay, it's so good. I also tend to avoid roguelike games. However, this game was a great progression and story that makes repeat runs so rewarding. Thanks a bunch, guys. Keep being weird. Thanks a lot, Jay.
Thank you, Jay. Also, Galen loves to read emails out as if he were auditioning for a role.
It's true.
It's just, he'll never get it out of him.
I hope that I do the listener mail any sort of justice and just make it sound as excited as I feel reading them. So,
Well, all of those emails complaining about you, you're lucky I don't show them to you.
yeah, just cry in the fetal position just for hours.
See, I shield you. Great question, Jay. The
Absolutely.
YouTube channel NoClip is also really, really good. They've got lots of nice little short documentaries in there about video games.
Neat. I have not seen them, but I will definitely have to check them out.
You really should. I haven't seen this Hades one, and I definitely will, thanks to Jay's recommendation. Before we get into the topic that he brought up, I have purchased Hades just because you wanted us to. Jay, Galen, did you buy it?
I was actually about to say I am planning on buying it this weekend.
Okay, well, he didn't.
I've got some time coming up with the Thanksgiving holiday, and I think I'm gonna like put in a good weekend and just really kind of dive into this game. So
I don't know when I'm gonna play it, but I will play it before the end of the year, Jay. So it's not too far from now. It's the end of November.
There you go.
The early access games.
Yes. So, Oni, I really want to hear your opinion on this first. I feel like I've stated my opinion. Well, I feel like because I've been talking about Baldur's Gate that I've kind of expressed my opinion on that before. So, I'd like to start off with yours, and then we can go from there.
All right, fine. So, as Jay alluded to before, I have, expressed negative opinion about like early access games, but Jay brings up a great example with Hades, where the game is out and it's excellent, and it was better for it having been in early access.
Mm-hmm.
And especially for indie studios like Supergiant, who have a bit of a pedigree, but they're still an indie studio. And I mean, those wonderful people are very talented. So, there's a lot of talent behind that. People who are genuine can really benefit from this. And I think it's really just like a tool and how you use it. And I think it will become more prevalent, especially where games like Hades, where it's a success story, and then big games like Baldur's Gate 3, where they use this model, it will become more prevalent in the Western gaming sphere. I can't really see a lot of Japanese studios doing this, but I think it's going to ultimately be a big old pain for developers in general, because it's just going to be like a Kickstarter situation where, like, you know, Kickstarters start and then like it's a great avenue for people to do it. Then you get the crappy companies or the scams that go in and they exploit it. And then nowadays Kickstarters still happen, but they're all sort of poisoned a bit. When you hear that something's being funded through Kickstarter, a lot of people are very skeptical of it, as they should be, because they've been burned on it. It's going to be the same situation with early access, where like it's going to start off with this ramp up and it's going to be good because people are going to not people, but like developers are going to benefit from it, and then in turn consumers will. But then there's going to be so many people, and I mean, you already see that this cycle has already happened on Steam, especially. Stuff goes into early access, it never comes out of it, and they make their money and they go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's really going to be a slippery slope, and we as consumers have to be careful. And the biggest shame in all of this is the small developers that would be able to make an amazing game with early access or with Kickstarter, but they're going to be sort of like casualties of a reputation that they had nothing to do with. So that's where I'm going with that.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Do I think this is going to be better or worse for the industry? I honestly think this is going to be more of an evolution of the industry as a whole. Now, I'm not saying that this is necessarily a good or a bad thing, but I will acknowledge that this is definitely going to change a lot of things. It's kind of along what you were saying with like how the Kickstarter games after a while have kind of left a bad taste in someone's mouth. I feel like early access is kind of going through the early stages of that right now. The first early access game that I really had experience with or even heard about was Minecraft and DayZ. I mean, DayZ was a freaking mod for a game that became so popular because it was zombie survival back in the 2010s, and that was all the rage. And then Minecraft is what it is, but you could still get those games, and kind of like seeing a game played and seeing people live playing that game and showing those expressions and those emotions with the influencer culture that we currently have.
What are you talking about?
Okay, let me rephrase. Having somebody play a game live is so much more effective on generating hype and generating news about a game.
Here? We're talking about streaming?
Yeah, because that's what early access does. It gets that game out into the world for people to play.
I did not get that connection. Okay.
But no, it is a great marketing tool, because not only does it get word of mouth of the game out there, but it also gets funds to the companies, and people feel more inclined to do the, put down a $60 whatever price tag for the game, because they're actually getting something out of it that they can play right then and there, as opposed to the pre-order culture, which is a bunch of empty promises and, hey, here's a special costume that you can get when we finally finish the game.
I don't know if they're comparable, those two things. And I'm very, very critical of pre-order culture. I don't like it.
I know you are.
But this, though, with like early access, do you really think that like once a game gets out of early access, it's going to more often than not carry the same weight as it did when it first launched or whatever? Like, this could be a double-edged sword for the people that are trying to launch it, and that's why I think that this is just going to become an exploited method, and they're going to be exploiting consumers on it. Because, like, for example,
and I think that will happen. I think
Baldur's
we will
Gate
have
3 is done, dude. Do you think that a whole bunch of people from because Baldur's Gate 3, their primary audience is always going to be on PC. When that game gets out of early access and launches its full version, its 1.0 version, and it probably goes to consoles in addition to PC, do you really think there's going to be all that much excitement behind it, like it's an actual brand new game release?
Yes.
I do not.
Well, and the reason I say that there is because you're only getting a fraction of what it's there. And it is now up to the developers of Baldur's Gate in order to kind of like give you enough that you get a taste of what the game is actually going to be, but still whet your appetite for all the other things that could be coming along.
Wipe your ass with Baldur's Gate 3?
Yep. You know, they're just going to come up and they're just going to be like, okay, just sit right there. I've got this nice little pedestal set up
this
for you.
This is disgusting.
You can
Shut
just relax.
up.
We'll do all the work for
Shut
you.
up.
But, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well, you did it. All right.
You opened the floodgate to let me do it.
Galen, listen, your butt is the floodgate.
But no, it's up to them to be like, okay, when the final version does come out, we are going to be adding all of these other classes that you haven't been able to play yet. We're going to let you have all of these other races that you can now build characters as. We've only given you one level to play. There's an entire world that kind of goes behind this. It's about a 30, 40 hour experience in the game. I haven't even gotten to the end yet. And that's probably about only a sixth of the game total.
But here's the thing, and this is where it differs from something that I do like, which is like a prototype demo. We saw that with Daemon X Machina. We saw that with Bravely Default 2 so recently, where they put out a demo like almost a year ahead of time or whatever. They get feedback from people, then they make changes. The thing is that with those, you're getting like something that's like 90% complete, and they just need to adjust certain things that are usually for quality of life or game feel or something like that. The game is pretty much done. It's just that there's those usability features.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why I feel like this is an evolving thing. Like, we haven't seen the quote-unquote early access in its final form right now. We saw this with betas, when betas was a big thing a couple of years ago. Everybody was like, oh, we're going to give you beta access to this game. The game's launching in a week and you're doing
out.
Well, it's because they didn't know how to do it. It's because they,
it's not because they didn't know how to do it. It's because they exploited people because they saw more money. They're like, well, how much further can we push people with money?
And they've been called out for it. They've been
they
called
have,
out for
but
that kind of thing.
They shat where they ate, and they ruined that whole thing. The same thing's going to happen
how
with early
often
access.
do you see companies talk about betas that are coming up now?
That's what I'm
How
saying.
often do you actually see it? Well, that's what I'm saying. These companies are not blind to the mistakes of the past. They know loot boxes are bad. They know betas have been overdone. They know pre-orders and exclusive pre-order bonuses.
So you think that they're going
to
learn from those past mistakes?
I'm just saying it's an evolving process, and this is a step that will kind of go to what we will ultimately see going forward.
I do not think they're going to learn from past mistakes. They're just going to... The only thing they're going to learn is they're going to learn how to push, or in which way to push their consumers for longer, so they can get money out of them for longer until they run something into the ground. And I'm totally cynical on this because I'm anti-big business, but like that's just all that's going to happen in my opinion.
We're also talking about how a company is going to run and make its money. Like, we are consumers arguing about how to be consumers. So.
Because here's the thing: is we're talking about people like Supergiant Games, right? Like with Hades, they're different from somebody like, say, a Bethesda.
Yeah, but if Supergiant Games decided to do a Kickstarter instead of an early access, wouldn't they still have that bad taste because of the other indie titles that have spoiled Kickstarters for you? I'm just saying that's your double-edged sword here, because you can be an indie title with an early access and be like, hey, this can be really beneficial for it. But if you are already against early access, you're not going into it with a clean slate in your mind. If you are a big business who's like, hey, we actually want to do an early access because we want to fine-tune this game and we think this would be a great way for us to do that, Intentions can be good, but now you have a stigma of, hey, I'm a big business game. You're just trying to do this to get money. Like, it's a no-win situation.
For the big business, is that what you're saying?
For anybody.
Well, ultimately, yes, because the evil ones are going to use it evilly. They always will.
Yeah, and the good ones are going to suffer for it too, because of the sins of the evil people.
So we're in agreement.
Maybe, I don't know. All I'm saying is that I honestly think we are going to be seeing more of this. I think we are going to see some extremes. We're going to see some people kind of abuse the system, but we're also going to see more success stories similar to Supergiant Games. And I am really hoping that we can kind of place those successes up on a higher pedestal and show them what works and what doesn't. Because this is a model I would like to see more of.
So there you have it, folks. The optimist that Galen is versus the cynical bitch that Oni Dino is.
You're my friend, Oni.
Yeah. Love yelling at you, Galen.
And love hearing from Jay. Thank you very much for writing in. This was a fantastic question. I was really excited when I read the email originally.
Thanks, Jay. I just read it just now, so whatever. Speaking of just reading something just now, we also have in our Discord, you can leave a question. If sending an email is too cumbersome, emails suck. Like, they're heavy. The shit in them is dumb. You gotta carry them. You can go right over to our Discord, which is lovely in the first place, and we got a channel over there where you can type a little question in there. Easier. Easy peasy. Easy breezy, just like Utada Hikaru. What's our Discord? The link are in our description. Words are coming apart at the seams.
You want to redo on that?
Or you go to your browser and type in tiny.cc/Nintendo Everything Pod, and you go straight to our Discord invite.
I might give you a golf clap for that one.
/ Shaker Edge.
Well, we have a lovely Discord question from our good friend Coffee Cakes. He writes in, while doing my weekly laundry, yes, every week, because I am an adult, I thought of a question. Do you guys have any of those friends who seemingly consume games at a speed you cannot fathom? For example, I have a close friend who somehow can complete entire JRPGs in a single week, and I have no idea how they do it. I, on the other hand, can barely finish one JRPG in an entire year. Do these people have dark magic powers? Am I just a slow player? What is the current time in China? Hope you guys are having a lovely week.
Thank you, Coffee Cakes.
Thanks, Coffee Cakes.
By the way, I was talking to him earlier in this week, and Coffee Cakes is one of our lovely listeners from Ireland. We actually have quite a lot of Irish listeners. And I was like, have you ever heard of Newfoundland? And he was like, what? Where is that? And I was like, due west of you. And he's like, you mean Greenland? No, Newfoundland. And the interesting thing about Newfoundland is the accent. It is basically just Irish, like Cork Irish, like Southwestern Ireland Irish, and it has stayed that way. So it's not just like, it comes over to North America, and then, after so many 100 years, the accent changes a little bit. Like, it's still like 99% Irish with a couple of quirks. It's crazy just how much it sounds like it. So I always love telling lovely Irish people about that. So if you're a fellow Irish listener, tell me, go onto YouTube, go look up people from Newfoundland and how they talk, and get back to me on your responses, because so many times people are just like, holy shit, like, how are they not actually from Ireland? And it is super cool, because like, how does an accent stay so untampered with, for so long?
I just am absolutely in love with Ireland. Like, I want to go back there so badly when we can travel.
So how fast do you consume games, Galen? That's not the question, though.
Incredibly slowly. How fast do you consume games?
It varies. It really does.
Yeah.
I'd
So
say the slower end of average.
there's a lot to kind of go into this. Would say in my quote unquote prime, I was probably like
This isn't the question.
Yeah, I was like a medium paced consumer of the Electronic Arts.
Yeah.
So
It's in the game.
nowadays, though, it's just time and priorities have shifted way too much. I mean, there's a reason why I gravitate towards games like
Destiny,
Animal Crossing, the ones that I don't
Galen,
need
imagine
to
how many
consistently
games
make
you could be
progress.
playing if you weren't playing Destiny.
Honestly, not that many, because I don't get a lot of spare time.
Disagree, bro.
How's No More Heroes doing for you?
Bitch, I started that last week, okay? And I just beat The Missing. And do you know how much I've been working this week? Lots! Jackass. Don't you throw no stones.
How do let all of us feeble peons who do not know the dark ways tell us, how do you consume games so quickly, that's meticulously?
Neither of these have been his question. Do you have any buddies that consume shit this way? I don't have
you.
What? Me?
You?
No, I'm not a fast consumer. I also don't have many friends who play video games. Like, the very few friends that I do have, which are not here, they are all over the world. Very few of them actually like play video games. Like, sometimes they play like a little game here or there, but they're not like a dedicated video game player like I am. And I ain't know nobody. I know some people like online, but I don't ask about their habits so much. You know, it just, unless you ask about it, that kind of thing doesn't really come up in conversation a lot. One person I will mention that maybe some of our listeners know from the Let's Fight a Boss Discord, we call him STFU-chan. He seems to just consume JRPGs like crazy and video games in general. He seems super, super fast about it. I would like to actually ask him and know more about it. Like, I feel like if I have questions about like Falcom games and like more niche JRPGs, and even like the bigger ones, he knows all about them. So he's one person I guess I know, but I really don't know, especially just because I gravitating towards like older people now, you know?
Yeah. And I guess it also really kind of depends on like what kind of games that you're playing. I feel like a JRPG is easier to kind of go through compared to some other games like a Dark Souls or a Bloodborne, specifically because with the JRPG, it's more about the time that you are consuming the actual story, and that is where the primary form of your enjoyment is kind of coming from it. Whereas something like Dark Souls, I use that as an example, a lot of it is in the mastery of the skill that actually comes along with it. So you want to kind of like dedicate more time to mastering the craft versus just consuming what it has to offer.
Well, I disagree with that, because like, especially with JRPGs, you know, there's side quests, there's lots of things to explore in the world and whatnot. I think that JRPGs are a great example for people to be like, oh my god, how did you beat this game so quickly or whatever, because there's such a huge disparity in how fast or how slow you can beat that game. It's such a huge what do I say, like not variety, but just a span of time, where, you know, like, say if you just go through the main story and you're, you know, semi-efficient at playing, say, Final Fantasy VII. No, it's not a good one. Xenoblade. Let's say Xenoblade. You can beat that game in like 30 hours, maybe.
Okay.
But there's all of these side quests. There's these big worlds to walk around and just kind of look at and take in the environments, which is my favorite thing about video games, is just like looking at everything. Or perfect example, Atelier Ryza. You can beat that game real fast, but I ended up spending like 70 hours in it, like something crazy. And that is way above the normal time, just because I was enjoying walking around, getting crafting stuff, looking at the environment, taking pictures. I really take my time and live in those worlds. So that's why I really do like playing games like, big JRPGs that are fantastical or just adventurous, just because I live in those worlds.
Yeah.
I bet I could beat them so much faster if I just ran through them, but then I'd be like not enjoying them to my full extent.
Mm-hmm. Well, and not to go back to an old hat, but that's part of the reason why I have continuously enjoyed playing Destiny as much as I have. Well, and it's because they give you so many different quests and everything to be able to do in them. And if I wanted to, I could sit down and just blitz through all of them in like a week.
Yeah.
Get to max level, and then that's
throw that
it.
in the trash. That game goes in the trash.
Wait for the next expansion to come out. But it was just like, I feel like I'm consuming it for the sake of consuming it,
right,
instead of sitting there and kind of like enjoying the process of going about it,
right,
and sitting down like, hey, today I want to go for that, exotic mastercraft. So
that's not what I thought you were saying. But yeah, I totally get that feeling though, because like sometimes like that's your chill out game, and that's like your way of de-stressing, just like how something like Hyrule Warriors can be that for me, So I totally get that. I give you a hard time for Destiny just because it's
Destiny.
No, I had lots of things to say there, but I want to end this podcast. But I get you, Galen. I really do. And you know what, Coffee Cakes, you're a good lad. Don't you worry. Those people don't have any dark magic powers. They're just playing the game in a different way than you. You play the game that you want to play, and enjoy fun.
I mean, there might be a little bit of dark magic in there. Let's not rule that out. I'm just saying.
So thank you so much, Coffee Cakes, for writing into us.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Coffee Cakes.
Jesus Christ. Coffee Cakes. You're in Dublin, aren't you? The Big Smoke. Jesus Christ, what the f*** are you doing up there? See, that's just an American doing... It's just listen, I will tell you a story right now, everybody. No Americans at all can do an Irish accent. It always sounds like an American doing an Irish accent.
Yeah. I will admit my wife does a really good American Irish accent.
Yeah, just
not an Irish accent, but it's a pretty passable American Irish accent.
It'll fool Americans because they don't know shit about accents at all.
And really, at the end of the day, that's the overall goal.
Well, if you're in America, yeah. But like that's the thing to me about like accent humor in general, is that like I never ever think I'm doing a convincing accent about anything ever. Even when I do my Japanese accent, which I could do like a convincing one, when I do my Japanese accent though, I'm doing a comical one, just because that's what's fun about accent humor for me.
No, it's the exaggerations are where you get the most enjoyment out of it. Like, yeah.
So thank you, Coffee Cakes. You have dirty egret you. You have f***ing gobshite you.
I'm just waiting for you to go, hoity toity toity.
I don't do that. That's too much for me.
You're kind of climbing up there. I'm just saying.
I'm not. You bollocks, you give you a clatter up the hole.
I'm tired.
All right. I'm tired.
All right, that's fair.
Go to our website, nintendoeverything.com. It's not our website, it's Brian's website. It's great. Lots of news, 24/7, nonstop, super fast, coming at you like Cleopatra. You can also stay connected to Nintendo Everything's Twitter. That's at NinEverything. Also got the YouTubes, youtube.com/ is it /?
It is /
Nin Everything. And then Galen and I, we have the Twitters, our personal Twitters. Mine is at Oni_Dino.
And mine is at Mobius087.
And remember, come over to our Discord. We're going to do a chat there on the 28th. Links in the description.
Yeah. I'm really excited to talk to everybody.
Galen, now that you've had a good hour and a half to think about it, hit us with the Mario rap. Come on.
Swing your arms from side to side. Let's do the Mario. Come on now. Hey-o.
Keep going. I like it. Keep going.
No, that's all I got. That's all I got.
No, come on. You gotta leave on a good note. Come on, I was having
years and years of watching Whose Line Is It Anyway, and this is how far I've come.
How pitiful.
I know. Ryan Stiles would be ashamed. Colin Mockery's okay with it.
We'll see if you can do any better next week. How about that?
Sounds good. Sounds good. Gauntlet has been thrown.
Until then, for everything Nintendo,
stay tuned to Nintendo Everything.
Bye.
Adios, everyone.
Every single day, stress comes in every way. I ain't got no time for nobody. My style is rich, dope, fat, and rich. We'll make a cake today that looks rich. Crack, crack, crack the egg into the bowl. Crack, crack, crack the egg into the bowl. M-I-X the flour into the bowl. M-I-X the flour into the bowl. Crack, crack, crack the egg into the bowl. Crack, crack, crack the egg into the bowl. M-I-X the flour into the bowl. M-I-X the flour into the bowl. Baking a cake, yes, means you gotta try. I'm doing this for years, but don't ask me why. Butter, butter, butter joins the bowl. Butter, butter, butter joins the bowl. We're making us a cake that you've never seen before. We're making us a cake that you've never seen before. Heat up the oven, now we're on a roll. Heat up the oven, now we on a roll. Cheap, cheap, cheap's the name of my soul. Cheap, cheap, cheap's the name of your soul. The other day, I was called a little turkey, but I'm a chicken, got it, your beef jerky. Put the cake in the oven for a while. Put the cake in the oven for a while. Leave it there, come on, clean the pile. Leave it there, come on, clean the pile. Put the cake in the oven for a while. Put the cake in the oven for a while. Leave it there, come on, clean the pile. Leave it there, come on, clean the pile. Here, I got a little sample. Here, I don't have a sample. Cause ample time's just what we don't have. Cause money and time's just what we don't have. A chicken in the kitchen is making all the sound. The cake is done while we were sitting around. All we gotta do is apply the final touches. All we gotta do is apply the final touches. Take out the shrimp, the clam, and the perches. Take out the shrimps, the clam, and the perches. The perch goes here, the clam goes there. The perch goes here, the clam goes there. The little tiny shrimps just go everywhere. The little tiny shrimps just go everywhere. Whatever you like's in the middle, fiddle. Whatever you like's in the middle, fiddle. Seafood cake comes just like the riddle. Seafood cake comes just like the riddle. Okay, that wasn't so hard, was it?